probably should give that deck a look.
Oh, speaking of getting a look, let's go ahead and take out this game one here between Rico and Steven. I promise no favoritism on this deck, even though his name is Steven. I will say, good name. Love to see it. We're going to roll. See who goes first. We got Steven rolling a 4, it looks like. I believe they're rolling for high. That's a 5. Rico squeaks it out. Yep, and Rico has proudly declared that he's going first. And something we didn't mention is actually playing Fiendsmith in his Mitsurugi Raziel deck.
Oh, wow.
Which is going to be another kind of one of those sub-engines that people love including to give their deck grind game, consistency, and staying power.
Fiendsmith has been in and out of the deck lists this particular format. Some people think maybe it's a little too slow, not explosive enough, but we've seen how much mileage you can get out of the Fiendsmith cards from previous formats, and this format keeps you in the duel long enough to survive for your other cards to resolve.
I have nothing in draw.
All right, so we have nothing in draw phase from Steven.
Standby phase.
Rico goes to standby phase.
Charming Perulia.
We have a Perulia coming down from Steven in standby phase, trying to get some extra draws off any of these potential Raziel opponents, potential Mitsurugi opponents, or potential Regenesis mirror match.
If only. But seems like he is using it blindly here, but there are so many different decks in the format where Mulcharmy Perulia can capitalize on that draw a few cards.
Even if the worst thing that happens is your opponent like normal summons, you still get a nice trade.
No cost.
All right, so we're just going to activate the prayers with no cost, it looks like, when you're only going to get one of the effects to search here.
Grab the deck here. Does look like we have a left-hand accommodation there. So if you're wondering about the format, again, just ask your judge. They're happy to let you swap things out.
Yes, Rico's main deck is not silver, and it is not 15 cards. That is definitely his extra deck.
Imagine a 15-card main deck.
Main phase.
So that was the Aramasa that he grabbed. One of the other new cards from Alliance Insight, going to be the main monster search for the Mitsurugi cards.
Definitely a lot more consistency with all of the new cards, and...
I will activate Mitsurugi Ritual.
Oh, wow. Nice to just get it.
Yeah, we just hard opened prayers and ritual. That's going to be more than good enough to keep playing, and maybe even play around this Perulia, because I believe we're summoning from the deck.
Yeah, definitely no Fuwalos here, so we're going to go right into the Ame no Murakumo no Mitsurugi.
Using these two.
Ooh, and we're going to be tributing an Aramasa as well as a Kusanagi, which will add back that prayers and search for another Mitsurugi monster.
Aramaza and Chainlink 2 Kusanagi targeting the Mitsurugi Ritual.
Yep, so Chainlink 2 add back ritual, Chainlink 1 to search. Here we can grab like the Havakiri, which will allow us to summon from the deck again and still dodge that Perulia, but I don't know if he's going to try to ritual summon anymore.
Of course. Searching a Havakiri.
Just like you called it. It's such a great card.
Yeah, this deck has so many fun ways to summon monsters that as long as you don't get specifically Fuwalos, you can totally dodge any other Mulcharmy in the game. So Rico's doing a good job of just trying to make sure that Steven ends his turn with going -1.
Definitely would help put him at that advantage, and -1 is really hard math for Regenesis again, especially if you're able to get that sort of Magic Drain-like effect of the Mitsurugi online. Having to discard, and you've already discarded a Mulcharmy Perulia, you almost want to keep that just so you don't have to have your card effects negated.
Oh, and this is a really good management of resources here, tributing the Murakumo off the Habakiri's effect because it's going to come back anyway, so you can just keep it in play. No need to get your opponent's board because there is no monsters, but may as well not sacrifice your Saji if you don't have to.
Definitely no destructions here. It was already a blank field, but Murakumo comes back to the field.
Just to confirm, I know 2 prayers, the ritual spell, and the Habakiri.
Exactly.
Yes, we have 2 prayers.
6 or 7?
6.
Okay.
Being searched there for Rico.
No worries.
Both duelists just kind of locked in. The vibe is definitely different at day 2 of a YCS. Serious contenders who really can see the brass ring they're about to grab.
These are the best of the best for a reason.
Normal summon the Fable Theory.
Ooh, we are going to be giving up a draw here, but that draw will allow us to unlock full Fiendsmith combo. So if you're Rico, I think that trade is more than worth it.
Definitely worth it.
Effect.
So Requiem going to go to the graveyard here. And I think we're going to go ahead and bring out Lacrima the Crimson Tears. There she is.
As we see this classic Fiendsmith combo that's going to end up with an Engraver in the graveyard as well as potentially access to a rank 6 and or another Link 2 play. The question I always have is, are you going to end on Desiree or are you going to end on Caesar?
We haven't seen a lot of Desirees hit the field in a while. It seems like Desiree's primary purpose right now is Fiendsmith in Paradise, sending it to the graveyard from the extra deck.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about all day yesterday, where it's like these one-for-one trades of like trying to negate card effects. It just isn't worth it, you know? Having things like Caesar that just straight up says no summons is actually way better because you deny yourself your opponent the effects as well as the body that they need to link climb or go for other monster summon plays. So Oh yeah, I was just gonna say here we're going for what it looks like the Necroquake Princess play. For Engraver putting back Luri. If all we were doing is sequence, we're probably not going to commit to that right now. Just going to see if there's a Nibiru check here, and we are going to go for that rank 6 line.
Feel like if there was going to be a Nibiru, it would have smacked down now, but instead we get Triple D Wave High King Caesar on the field. That's going to be very difficult. Luckily, the Regenesis monsters don't necessarily use effects to special summon, but they can be negated nonetheless.
That is true. I would say going blind, yes, Caesar's a great card to make, but knowing that this is a Regenesis matchup, he might not be that needed. Ooh, are we going to activate the ritual again for Rico to summon from the hand?
Activate the Mitsurugi ritual.
Oh, we're doing it again.
To summon from hand.
Sure. This will give up another draw over to Steven, but at this point, Rico having the Murakumo, having the Caesar, having the potential of a Habakiri coming down, I think is more than good enough for him.
So the quest continues here. As
Choose to not trigger the Amino effect since it got tributed.
okay, not going to try to trigger that. Interesting.
Doesn't want to clog his board, it looks like, with monsters that he can't necessarily get rid of.
Then from a link summon for IP Masquerina.
Interesting. I don't think we've seen IP Masquerina on this sort of field before. Obviously, we've seen it plenty of times on the featured match stage, but not in this way.
It basically just serves as like an extra form of interruption for him, on top of like using the Caesar or the Murakumo.
I'll draw a turn.
All right, well, now it is Steven's turn, so he's going to go ahead and draw. Let's see if those extra draws from the Fualos helped. Or, excuse me, Furulia.
Yep.
Main phase?
Nothing.
So I think I saw an Archfiend in Steven's hand, which is all he needs to get into his Regenesis engine.
It's not all he needs. He'll also need to reveal a monster with 2,500 attacks. So, again, as Jerome had said on that first stream, the hardest Regenesis monster to summon is the first one. So if he doesn't have the ability to do that, this could be difficult.
So before Steven commits to any plays, he's just going to take his time here, make sure he has a firm understanding of all the known resources Rico has. We can assume that set card is a Prayers, because we saw him have 2 in his hand earlier, with the Murakumo, the IP, and a double Caesar activation. Plus, I don't think there's anything in the graveyard right now that we need to necessarily worry about.
Special Unicorn?
Oh, going straight into the Unicorn.
So that is the level 25, but not revealing it off the Archfiend, like you said. Maybe doesn't want to play into the Caesar necessarily. Because Archfiend is the only one that I believe is not an inherent summon.
That is correct, but it seems like
I'll contact you.
we're going to go ahead and use the effect here.
This is also nice too because this kind of forces Rico's hand a little bit because he's either not going to activate any of his interactions, or if he does, he can fall victim to the rip from the Unicorn to go into his extra deck and banish a card face down.
Well, he hasn't normal summoned yet, so the Cashier Birth could play off. There are a few level 7 Regenesis monsters. I believe it is Sage and Warrior.
Or he could just have Fenrir too. We don't know.
That's true.
What's in his hand. But yeah, you're totally right. These players are way more methodical today in day 2 because they know every single play matters. One misstep could cost you an entire championship.
Definitely a roller coaster of emotions on day 1. You're like, I hope I make the top. I can do this. I can do this. But when you're actually there just 2 rounds away from the top 32, you got to be serious. And speaking of serious, here comes Kashtira Fenrir.
Yep, we get that normal summon thanks to the Birth, being able to bring out this level 7 monster. We're going to use the effect here to search. And again, Rico's like, yeah, no, this is all fine. I'm not going to interact with you until you're doing something actually threatening.
Okay, I'll probably push your Unicorn.
Ooh, and now we have another Unicorn in hand, so now we can summon Archfiend if we needed to, in case we didn't have any other 2,500 attack point monsters.
Speaking of 2,500 attack point monsters, there hasn't really been any information revealed to Rico that this is a Regenesis deck, so it just feels like Kashtira at this point.
That's actually a very good point. I wonder what Rico is thinking he's playing against. But like lots of things can play Kashtira, but seeing this many hard-drawn Kashtira cards, you got to assume.
Take your time.
You know, it'd be really fun if we go like Big Eye, force the Caesar, or force the IP, or force the Murakumo. That'd be pretty cool.
It's a great way to get things started here. Now, we've already used the normal summon effect of the Kashtira Birth, so we'll have to Regenesis the old-fashioned way. Seems like there's a Kashtira Theosis in the hand.
Yeah, like, do you if you're Steven and you have all your hard-drawn Kashtira cards like this, do you just play full cash combo until it's time to go Regenesis and surprise Rico with it at the end?
I think, yes, it kind of reminds me of the way that players hold back on their Fiendsmith engine or start with their Fiendsmith engine in order to keep that information away, force your opponent to use all these different points of interaction on one half of the deck, and then pivot to the other before they know it.
So here we have the Theosis coming down, getting another Fenrir out of the deck. This will allow us to conserve our Unicorn and still go for an Xyz play, or conserve our Fenrir and get the, banish on field as well.
That Big Eye feels like a good target right now, but you would be getting rid of 2 Fenrirs.
Just Unicorn.
Obviously, if you go Big Eye, you're going to force the IP to go into like an SP line, but that'll eat up either the Murakumo or the Caesar as well. And you're like, I think I'm more than happy to trade those for those interactions. Well, I still have full Regenesis combo in my hand.
Well, but if it is a prayer set, he could tribute the Amai no Murakumo no Mitsurugi and then bring it back for that Raigeki-like effect. So this is kind of difficult to deal with either way. And it looks like Rico is eyeballing that face-down card.
I would like to activate Amno.
All right, and just like you said, Steven, the prayers are going to be activated, tributing the Murakumo for cost to get the extra version of the effect.
Something back from the hand or graveyard by losing 800.
Yep, so he's lost
So
800 life points to summon it back from the graveyard.
But he did activate a spell while a Kashtira monster was controlled, so we might get to see some banished face-down cards. And he also activated a monster effect too, so we might actually see Fenrir. Yeah, here we go, Kashtira time.
Yep, so we're going to go ahead and get some banishes from this graveyard. I think the big thing is going to be probably the Fiendsmith cards.
I'll target.
However, they could be chained, technically.
Yeah, is there Engraver in there still? Or no, that's underneath the Caesar right now.
I'll target the Habakiri that was properly summoned. I will target the Requiem, and I will target the Kusanagi.
Great declaration there from Steven, saying the Habakiri that was properly summoned.
I was just going to say, based on how methodical these duelists are, I mean, you can tell they are really locked in. They do not want to give up a single game.
You didn't activate a monster effect, right? Okay. No, just Birth.
Yeah, no monster effect was activated. They'll be activating here on this new chain.
Sure.
And training 3. Lakshma target Requiem.
So going to go ahead and return with the Lacrima. Go ahead and target the Fiendsmith Engraver. Taking a quick look at the Kashtira Birth. It's been in the format for a long time, but you, again, want to be methodical. And it's okay. It's okay to actually verify the cards. You don't have to just guess.
Then your board gets wiped.
Correct. Yes, so all the monsters will be destroyed. Unfortunately, none of the Kashtira monsters are in play at the point of resolution to where they would activate and start doing all their fun effects.
Kusanagi get banished based on.
Yep, there we lose the Kusanagi as well as the Habakiri.
Could get a monster back, though. We haven't used Kashtira Birth's special summon effect yet.
You might want to get Fenrir maybe to kind of punish any potential other plays that Rico goes for. But on open game state here, we're going to use the Requiem to summon out, get back that Lacrima, and maybe gain access to our Fiendsmith in Paradise.
Such a small package that has such a big impact, and it's nice because it doesn't take up that much room in your deck. So really good looking out here as we see Fiendsmith of Paradise go to the graveyard. And now there's an additional material for IP Masquerade to be able to link summon with. And as I was saying, it just happened with Rico. So SP Little Knight.
Yeah, just getting rid of that extra extension that Steven had access to in the Birth.
Do I know? I know the.
So here we have Steven just trying to double check if he has to go to Regenesis right now, what he's going to have to fight through. But again, that Caesar is making that Archfiend really difficult to try to summon here.
I think I saw a Sage, so there's definitely something to reveal, and there's also just the Kashtira Unicorn, so it just depends on what he wants to reveal first. It's going to be kind of difficult with the SP Little Knight there.
Yeah, at this point, if you're Steven, you might be thinking to yourself, I might be out of gas staring down the rest of the interactions that Rico has access to, so is there a point to play it out and reveal? But he's going, yes, there is. I'm going to special the Unicorn because, again, it's an inherent summon. You can do it as long as you have no monsters.
We did see some early concessions yesterday that didn't pay off, but hey, we're going in here. So revealing in order to bring out Regenesis Archfiend.
Oh, is Archfiend an inherent summon or no?
I think it might be. Let's take a look at the card text just the same way Rico is. They are brand new cards.
Because to my knowledge, you have to reveal for him, and then he gets summoned, but I guess it just happens.
It just happens, I think. So, yep, you could special summon this card. That is not an effect.
Okay, so never mind then. Caesar is not going to interact with Archfiend at all. I thought he was the only one that would. But like Code or something, you can interact with that. And now Rico's getting, oh, okay. So now Steven's going to have access to a potential search for more Regenesis monsters, as well as a potential monster negate, which could be pretty huge.
It's definitely an upsell point for the Regenesis package because it is all inherent summons, very similar to the Kashtira. If you know that Fiendsmith decks are out there, you don't really have to worry about Triple D Wave High King Caesar unless you're activating cards like Regenesis or Regenesis Code.
So yeah, and then Rico's just staring at these cards going, okay, how am I going to use, like he's staring at those cards more for himself. Like, oh, how am I going to interact with these specific cards and less about what do these cards actually do.
I'll attempt to activate
It's a summon
effective
effect,
search.
right?
Yeah, it has non-summon effect.
So it does have
I
a
can
sort of
either add,
Elemental Hero Stratos-like effect of
Regenesis
adding a
card from my
Regenesis
deck
card
or
from your
not.
deck to your hand.
Yeah, but he can get any card, not just monsters.
Thinking.
Which could be important for grabbing Regenesis or Regenesis Code. He already has a copy of Regenesis Birth in his hand, so I wouldn't imagine he'd be grabbing that.
We could get Warrior as well and potentially have a bounce.
You also could just get Regenesis Lord and just go in with a 5,000 attacker.
So here we're going to chain the SP targeting itself
Search
and the
fine.
Unicorn to get that bit of interaction off the board, so that way he can seamlessly use Caesar. But so far, I believe the only effect that Rico hasn't used is the Murakumo's effect to, negate an effect unless Steven discards a card. And of course his Caesars. But as we mentioned, Caesar might be kind of not really useful, depending on how Steven plays his cards.
Well, he's got that Regenesis sort of pre-selected from the deck there, but he's having a little difficulty deciding whether or not he wants to use it because you'd still have to deal with the Triple D Wave High King Caesar. Now, there isn't an argument. You just go into the battle phase, go ahead and attack it, and then after it's destroyed, then you start to special summon with card effects. But he may want to maximize his turn a little bit more, but he does have Regenesis. So you get to, again, add to your hand or send to the graveyard one of those sacred Regenesis monsters. Or if you control a Regenesis monster, you can actually add a monster with 2,500 attack and
essentially
2,500
just similar
defense.
Wish.
Gives you some like weird deck building, options, but I don't know if we're going to see anything too unusual here. It might just be for straight Regenesis cards. Oh, and the Droll Lockbird. But that's not that big of a deal. We've kind of gotten our big search, and that really is already what Regenesis does.
And notably that Rico didn't use his Droll and Lockbird earlier on the Fenrir's cards because he doesn't want to activate the Kashtira monster effects in response.
So good looking out for holding it, but I don't know if it's going to pay off. We do see Regenesis Sage, who is able to, again, negate the activated effects of your opponent and destroy those cards by either sending a Kashtira monster from the field or from the hand. Not Kashtira, excuse me, Regenesis monster, right?
They're honorary
they're
Kashtiras
honorary.
today in this deck.
It's weird. Kashtira is kind of honorary everything, right? So many different decks that it fits into.
Cards in hand. 3.
It is worth noting, too, that I believe now we have perfectly known information for Rico. The only card in his hand is a Mixed Rugi Prayers that I believe Steven's also aware of. So Steven's just going, all right, all I got to do is fight through a Murakumo and a Caesar. How can I best do that?
It's definitely doable, especially from the game state that we have now.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
You're totally right. That's going to be, I think, Steven's answer to both the Caesar and the Murakumo, because you can just go battle phase attack over. But unfortunately, we do have Fiends Within Paradise, and that is. But we have Sage as well.
Yeah, because Sage could go ahead and discard the Regenesis Birth in the hand in order to negate that. And it might be that Rico's thinking that he can't possibly have another Regenesis monster in his hand because he would have summoned it, right? But, well, he might be wrong.
I will trigger Desiree.
Yep, so here we're going to be triggering Desiree. We're going to be returning, I believe, Fiend, Smith, Lacrima, or Requiem. We're going to choose Requiem, question mark? And we're going to target the Typhon, but we're going to activate Sage's effect, discarding the Regenesis.
Wow.
It's any Regenesis card, right? Correct. Not a monster.
It is any Regenesis card, not the monster. And so here's what's cool. On a follow-up turn later, you can use that Regenesis to go ahead and banish it to special summon a fallen Regenesis monster that didn't happen to come back during the end phase of your opponent's turn.
And because Steven has Typhon in play, Rico cannot chain Murakumo to this because he has 3,200 attack points.
Yeah, so good looking out. Just really methodical play. That is really the theme of this duel.
Really showcasing the sort of controlling nature that the Regenesis cards have access to. Now we're going to swing over Caesar, deal 100 points of damage, and then swing for 2,500 with the Sage.
Just make sure you've taken 800.
Yeah, puts him at 46.
Wow.
Yeah, that puts him at 4,600 life points total. And now we have, I think I saw Steven's hand a little bit there. He has Regenesis Code in hand. And so we can end his turn by going for
46.
Code.
Code and Birth. That's
Regenesis
insane. No, he can't summon anymore this turn, but...
From the extra deck.
Dispel?
Right? Or is
Well,
Typhon
but he can't special summon since he has the Typhon,
oh, I
right? Because
see,
he
I
can't
see.
summon any monsters, period. But just really, really good looking out. Very well sequenced plays and shows you that these two decks pair really well together.
But luckily for us, Code is a quick play, so we can just set and use it on Rico's turn.
Absolutely correct. And you could use that to get something like a Regenesis Warrior to bounce a monster off the field, returning it back to the hand. Or you could use it to get Regenesis Dragon to banish a spell or trap. We'll see. Steven's in the driver's seat, so let's find out what's going to happen.
I also just realized we get Unicorn back because the SP
Oh, from the SP Little Knight, yeah.
Sure.
Make sure the duelists remember that too, but just taking a quick look at the graveyard there. A lot of different options, but may not be helpful when some of those would be over 3,000 attack.
Really good play here
Yeah,
from
awesome.
Steven. He played through a Caesar, an IP, a full Fiendsmith combo, as well as Murakumo and a Raigeki.
Stamper phase, main phase.
But Rico does have access to the prayers, but unfortunately the Murakumo is no longer properly summoned because it was returned to the hand. So if he attributes that, he won't be able to summon it back out.
Which means that Engraver shuffle back Lacrima for cost.
So here we have the Engraver that was sent because the Caesar was sent to the graveyard. We're going to return the Lacrima to summon back the Engraver. But notably, Requiem is not in the graveyard, so this card cannot just ascend
Field
anything.
as well, right? So it can be face on sent for cost, I guess.
So for Sage, he has to like send other. I don't believe Sage can target itself. I believe it has to.
No, it does have to send another one.
So right now, Sage is currently not a monster negate, but if we code and then we have a Regenesis card in play, it'll be different. Steve here's just thinking about the best way to go about dealing with that Engraver because he knows full Feats with combo could be a little annoying to deal with.
Anything on summon?
We do have the Birth, which could Book of Moon the Engraver. I'm sure that's what Steven's thinking about, if that's worth it or not.
You do have to choose one or the other effect there. It can only be once per turn and only once that turn.
I forget, for ritual summoning, can you use face down monsters?
You can, because you are tributing the monsters, and so you can always tribute a face down.
Worth noting.
Now, we are seeing Regenesis code, but a special summon, a Regenesis monster can be locked out of the extra deck. Not a big deal unless you got like an IP Masquerena on your own field.
I believe it does lock you until the end of the next turn as well.
I think so.
So this will affect Steven on his turn, but you can just use the code second effect during your own turn and get plenty of bodies that way. So I'm sure Steven's not worried about it now that we're in the grind game.
You're right that it's the end of the next turn, so it is going to be a while. Here he goes to activate it.
Oh, that is very true. They get back.
Looks like they did finally catch the SP Little
Okay,
Knight
yeah, that's
returns
very
there,
true.
so it's not going to change too much, but
Do
that
we
does
start,
mean...
Do we start the turn since this is not is a repairable game state? I mean, it kind of.
Judges are kind of figuring that out real fast.
Yes, unfortunately, so the only contention here is that an unknown card was activated and now is known, and so I'm not sure if it's a repairable game state
I started
necessarily.
turn using Fiends on Engraver, and then he tried to use Regenesis
On
4.
resolution, I try to use code.
So we might have to rewind. We're going to let our judges figure that for just a moment. Just a
not yet,
little
but
bit of
just private
information given up,
knowledge.
but not too much new information other than the Regenesis code.
Yeah, but there is something to note too that a monster effect was activated, so the Unicorn could have a window where it's allowed to trigger now, and then of course so would SP, and then all that. Do we say that happens before or after code activates? All these questions. Again, we'll leave it to the judges here, and we'll let you guys know in case anything does come about. But so far, I can definitely say that this game has been one of attrition, one of meticulation, and both players
So
are
we
playing
start the turn, basically.
masterclass.
Wait, you don't draw?
Yeah, it's like.
Oh, sorry.
I love this. Like, hey, you don't draw. It's like, no, he's not drawing. He just has
Yeah,
the
I drew
Lacrima from
already.
the top of the deck, so we're
So okay,
good.
the SP comes back, and
Yeah.
that's the situation right now. I just started my turn.
Yep, and he's already drawn for
Okay,
turn.
okay, got it.
He's now in his main phase. Engraver has not been activated yet.
Now, we'll update you if there's any penalties on that. Remember, both players
I haven't
are
gotten any
responsible for
warnings,
maintaining a valid game state.
We're
So
good.
you got to remember your SP
Proceed.
Little Knight.
Are we good? Can we play?
Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
now they're just getting clarification
So
that they
I-
are
So,
good to keep
so
going.
we're rewinding back to draw phase.
Okay.
Okay, because and if that's the case, then standby phase. I'll tend to activate code.
This just sounds one from deck, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So now that Steven no longer has the secret
Yeah,
code,
there's
he's
no
like, there's no point in holding this. Use it immediately. Use it where I'm definitely safe. Get access to Dragon. Get access to Warrior. Get access to whatever he feels he needs in this moment.
Neither player really at a disadvantage right now. Rico needs to be aware of that Keshira Unicorn. Activating a monster effect could be very dangerous. But speaking of monster effects, we've got Regenesis Warrior, who can tribute itself in order to return one card, monster card, on the field back to the hand. During the end phase, it's going to come back. So, yeah, it's Regenesis time.
That's right. We haven't seen the main sort of gimmick or mechanic of the Regenesis monsters yet. Obviously, they're 2,500 attack weight monsters that can summon themselves, but
Big effect.
if they're sent to the graveyard during your opponent's turn,
right.
during that end phase, they will come back.
And none of them are 3,000 attacks, so they're all working
Yeah, that's
pretty
nice.
well in a wide variety of cases. Obviously, Typhon on the
No,
field
we did
there.
not.
No, I haven't.
Neither
Am
player...
I getting a game loss?
No,
no,
nobody's
you
getting a game loss,
need
Steven.
a lot
It's
of warning
okay.
getting
Just
a
going to be a warning. As long as you have not made that same mistake before, it's not going to get
maybe this is
upgraded.
fine. I would again like to activate Fiends with Engraver, shuffling back the Lacrima.
Okay, so we're pretty much back at the same
Everything
position
on
that we
Fiends
are
with Engraver.
just a few moments ago now that we've repaired the game state.
I'll
So
tend to activate unicorn effect.
So here we're going to chain Unicorn because a monster effect was activated. This could get rid of the Engraver that Rico sent back to his extra deck, which could be pretty huge for turning off this Fiendsmith combo.
I would like to chain a speed, target itself, and the Regenesis Sage.
Ooh, we're going to target the Sage to get that monster negate off the board. It is worth noting, though, that if we summon this Murakumo, Typhon will still be in play, and thus it won't be able to activate its effect to Raigeki the board, so Rico probably has an answer for it somewhere else. Let's go ahead and see this beautiful extra deck here from Rico.
So it's really interesting, by the way, as Steven took a moment to look at the Regenesis Birth, you can actually special summon as many Regenesis monsters as possible from both your graveyard and banishment.
Yep, so that stage is more than capable of coming back.
And it didn't use its effect, so it could be a little bit of a surprise there.
So now Rico's kind of in a tough spot here because his big, Mitsurugi plays don't really have a big payoff to them because the Typhon's in play, and now his Fiendsmith plays don't really have a good starter because Requiem's gone. So what does Rico have access to?
Oof. Well, let's find out as he's about to slap a card down on the field. Looks like it's going to be Mitsurugi Prayers.
No cost for the Prayers, just going to get the add. Sorry, the special from the graveyard. He won't be able to get the Habakiri because that one was not properly summoned, the one that's in the graveyard. But I do see an Aramasa being eyed.
Steven just being incredibly methodical here. Both players playing a reasonable pace, but incredible interactions back and forth. So it is going to be a procedural error minor for the SP Little Knight mistake. Remember, again, both of them need to have that. But there was a slow play minor warner given to Steven, so there may be some adjustments on the clock there for those of you following along at home.
Trigger Aramasa to search.
So we have the Aramasa being summoned and the effect to search for another Mitsurugi monster. We paid another 800 life points here to activate the prayers.
Yes, that's fine.
Commentator's curse, right? I said they were reasonable play. There was a slow play minor warning.
I did.
But it looks like we're back in the heat of things.
Yep, and there we had a clarification that Habakiri no Mitsurugi's effect has been activated already from the hand, so that once per duel effect will not be able to be used again, but it is still a really powerful level 8 ritual. And there we see the Ryziel portion of Rico's deck.
Aggregator.
Sending Aggregator, and that will be able to answer the Typhon.
Aggregator chaining one targeting Genesis Warrior.
Oh, the Warrior. Is it going to force the Warrior out here?
I will attempt to chain for Genesis Warrior tribute cost. I will target the...
Unfortunately, there's really no good targets here because Rico has not used his normal summon yet, and so he can just bring back any of these cards. If he's going to choose the Aramasa to go back to hand.
Okay.
So-
Aramasa.
Aramasa right back on the field there since the normal summon hasn't been used. And now we're going to Xyz summon into
on
Duo Drive.
I don't know.
No effect, okay. On summon, I'm going to attempt to activate Genesis Birth.
Ooh.
Activate effect, I'll attempt to target.
Can I read it?
Oh, he's going to
have
flip it
send
face
somehow.
down by sending a Regenesis monster to the graveyard. We haven't seen Dragon yet. Oh, now we have.
So yeah, in case you guys don't know, Regenesis Birth has 2 effects. The first one is going to be a Book of Moon-like effect by sending a Regenesis card from your deck to the graveyard for cost. But the other effect that you could do is you can send this card to the graveyard and summon as many Regenesis monsters from your graveyard or banishment as possible. But you can only use one of those effects once per turn.
I like how the duelists described it as a soul charge, but it's even better than soul charge in the sense that it can also summon from the banishment.
Okay.
Looks like both players have had a slow play minor warning at this point, so it's going to be a total of 6 minutes total added to the clock at the end. So we'll get that in when we can.
Ooh, and that duo drive being Book of Moon is going to give it to Steven. Rico said, "You have officially stopped me. I have no more plays that I can make." We are going to be going to a game 2. Steven Wind is the victor of the first game in round 10.
Steven's got a smile on his face. The wind is in his sails like we joked about earlier, but they've got to kind of lock in. It's true, this is a very different vibe than Saturday on day 1, but they still have to play at a reasonable pace of play. You got to read those tournament policy guidelines, right? This is a competition, not just your local Duel Monsters tournament.
That was a very grindy matchup.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Steven did a great job of fighting through the pretty immaculate board that Rico was able to set up. We essentially had full Mitsurugi combo and full Fiendsmith combo, and Steven was like, I don't think that's enough to stop my Regenesis.
Regenesis is just such an interesting deck. It kind of reminds me of Kashtira or Horus, and funny enough, Steven is pairing it with Kashtira. But the idea is these giant monsters that just make an impact on the game. Deal with me. I'm 2,500, and I'm going to take out one of your monsters and send it back to the hand. deal with me. I'm 2,500, and I'm going to banish one of your spells and traps. And it does remind me of that same sort of Horus gameplay. They can get locked up a little bit with that, but Steven did a great job of just staring down, some of the biggest monsters in the game right now that have done so much of the tournament, saying, nah, I got this.
Yeah, I really got to commend him for that sort of slow roll he kind of had, the sandbagging of the Regenesis cards. I'm just going to do all my Fiendsmith stuff. I'm going to threaten Rico with all these cards, force his interactions now, and then when he's all out of the really impactful ones, I'm going to go Regenesis combo. And that was more than enough to grind him into a victory. And Typhon doing what Typhon does. Once your opponent's out of resources, it goes, slap it on the board. What more do you have now?
Definitely good looking out there, and good use of the Sage. I think that's certainly a lesson that Rico will have to learn. That Sage, of course, can send cards from the hand. And he did get a peek there. Remember, the Regenesis Archfiend did add that Regenesis from the deck to the hand. So you have to respect the Sage. It's a very interesting card. And we didn't even get to see the real surprise that technically that Omni Negate could have been brought back at a moment's notice with the same card, Regenesis Birth.
Yeah, Rico's definitely going to have his eyes on a swivel, his head on a swivel for these Regenesis cards. I think the big thing he's going to want to look out for in this matchup is maybe utilizing his Ryzeal cards. Obviously, he wasn't lucky enough to draw any of those in the first game. If he gets access to them, I think he's going to really try to prioritize those before anything else. And it looks like we're actually getting ready for Game 2. They're starting right now. I know you guys can't see the board just quite yet. We have a bonfire being activated by Rico here, searching for Ice Ryzeal. So currently we have an Ice Ryzeal in hand. It's going to be normal summoned here for Rico. He's blitzing here. These players want to make sure that they have this game going in their favor. And then we have an Infinite Impermanence targeting the Ryzeal to stop its effect. Ooh, but we have the X'd.
Just much more Ryzeal. You wouldn't even think it was a Mitsurugi deck at this point.
You wouldn't even think these cards are semi-limited with how much Rico's drawing them now.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and send the Eclipse Twins to the graveyard for setups later.
Yeah, in the Ryzeal Mitsurugi theme deck, I don't think there's really any fun value you can get off of this X Ryzeal going first, so just sending Eclipse could be super awesome.
We go ahead and get the Sword Ryzeal from the deck there, and let's build the overlay network. Maybe the Duo Drive? Oh, King of the Feral Imps.
Yeah, but remember, it is a Mitsurugi deck, so you don't necessarily need to start with the Duo Drive if you don't need to.
Declare the effect detaching. Ice Ryzeal.
This is also a really fun way for Rico to kind of force interaction out of Steven here, so that way he can maybe protect his Duo Drive later on.
Gonna go ahead and Effect Veiler there, not a common occurrence in every deck.
Now that we have a Ryzeal in the graveyard, that sword will be able to special summon itself.
Summon sword. Use the effect to search.
And this could give us access to Node, could give us access to another Ice that we can use to special summon itself and get access to Duo Drive. And then Steven would need another form of interaction to stop Duo Drive.
I think it's about to break loose here.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about a deck like Rico's, where you have all these three super impact engines that are kind of low to the ground. You don't really need that many cards to get them going. And so you can force your opponent into awkward situations where they use up all their non-engine, but not quite enough. So you can always have something formidable for your opponent to deal with, like this Duo Drive that's about to come down from Rico. If I was a betting man.
Overlay for Duo Drive.
They definitely got a Millennium Necklace if I ever seen one, because you can see the future, and Duo Drive is here to probably detach two materials. But first, we're going to go ahead and attach that X Ryzeal.
Yeah, if I'm Rico and I see two effect negation from Steven's hand, I'm going, you don't got any more. And if you do, good for you. I'm just going to go ahead and use the Duo Drive here to get that extra material, so that way when he gets this cross, it'll be even better for him.
We'll get the Node Ryzeal, and likely Ryzeal cross, just like you said.
If it's not already in hand.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because there's another X Ryzeal.
Or if it's not in his deck at all. Again, there is a lot of engines in Rico's deck. He might not have room for, the quote-unquote bricks, but he's
there we
got
go.
it right there.
X and Node, right?
I've seen plenty of people side out this card going second, so but Rico's going first in this game.
Very powerful, but you're right, it doesn't get everything done in a format, but we're still exploring. Sometimes every card counts, so you can't necessarily put that much in. But we are going to put two on the bottom of the deck. Go ahead and draw one. Ryzeal cross effect, and bringing out the Node.
Here you have Node. Are we going to send from hand or send from the board? We are going to send the Troll and Lockbird from the hand instead of getting rid of our Duo Drive. Again, conserving as many materials as possible. Really heads up play from Rico.
Well, you want to go ahead and keep that Ryzeal Duo Drive just to make sure you have access to Ryzeal Cross's negation effect. And speaking of effects, we're going to use Detonator to go ahead and attach the Eclipse Twin set of card, and that may be it.
Yep, we have a classic Ryzeal Detonator, Ryzeal Duo Drive, and a set card. We saw Steven play through plenty of disruption as well as summon negates in game 1, but now he's got to deal with Ryzeal Detonator.
Search or add, right?
It's add or foolish.
Search or foolish, yeah.
Yeah, so he's either going to Foolish Burial or search for a Regenesis card. We're going to chain.
Wow. The Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring.
All those effects are cards that Ash Blossom can stop.
I'll reveal Unicorn. Special Archfiend.
Ooh, very cool. We have the inherent summon here of Archfiend, and then on summon the effect to search.
So there's two ways to deal with this. Of course, you can go ahead and destroy that monster with the Ryzeal Detonator's effect, but on Resolution, you can also use Ryzeal Cross's effect to go ahead and stop that too. And again, it's hard when you don't have that first Regenesis monster on the field, but I don't think we're going to see too many Regenesis this turn.
Yep, we are going to do exactly like you said, Stephen. We're going to both destroy it and cross-negate it at resolution of the effect.
Just starving him for cards. Rico trying to make a name for duelists from Switzerland everywhere.
Here we see the Kashtira Unicorn coming down that we revealed off the Archfiend. And we could go into the good old-fashioned Typhon that we saw earlier. And I think what Steven's eyeing up, yep, there he is. That will now turn off the detonator. There is no more cross.
That is fine.
So we can use this to clear the detonator off the board.
Results.
But it is just going to put it back in the extra deck, so it is possible that we'll see it again.
Notably, that does let you dodge the Eclipse Twins bringing it back, which is kind of nice. And now we're going to attack over the Duo Drive 29 to 25. All right, Steven has sort of fought through Rico's board, but unlike last time, I think Rico does have plenty of follow-up here to maybe deal with this Typhon.
There's a lot of conversation around Superstar Slayer Typhon that, like, do you need it? Do you not need it? Is it just coping that you're going to be able to come back of a duel? But this really shows this is 2 duels in a row where the Typhon has just put in so much work. So maybe consider your options, duelists.
It's one of those cards where I feel like at the end of a grind game, it just puts the cap on the duel. Like, okay, from this point forward, I've done all I can to stop you. This is probably going to be enough. But let's see if it is for Steven this time like it was in game 1.
Anything in rest?
The Ryzeal Cross being activated there.
There
Seems like nothing.
That is X Ryzeal, and we still have the aggregator in the extra deck. And like you said earlier, Steven, we put the detonator back in, and detonator is stronger than Typhon, so all we got to do is summon him back out, and we can clear it no problem.
The effect of a card with 3,000 attack doesn't matter if it's just coming in for an attack itself.
Special summon sword, use the effect.
We're going to Special Sword and use the effect here to search. This should get back the Node Ryzeal that we just put back. Or Nice, that we also put back last turn with Cross.
Rico definitely getting a big swing of momentum here, so let's see what we bring out.
Summarize the detonator effect to attach.
It's going to be that one of Detonator back again. Going to be attaching from the graveyard the Eclipse Twins. Once again, going to be able to recycle this card over and over. Again, that's the entire point of this deck.
You know Ice Ryzeal?
Just Ice.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Then I will activate Mitsurugi Prayer.
And now we have prayers this time to go into our Mitsurugi
How
cards.
much time do we have left?
8 minutes.
14 minutes.
Oh, it looks like a little bit larger because it hasn't been added to the clock yet. I think they're going to add it to the clock at the end, so we'll let our judges handle that.
Okay.
Ooh, but Steven's like 14 minutes. Still probably isn't enough time to do both the rest of this game and game 3. I want as much time as possible so I can play through. This time we're going to get to see what his going first combos look like. We've seen him try to play through some boards here.
Well, Steven definitely hanging in there, but probably right to go ahead and collect his cards with around 14 minutes left with that 6-minute total time extension, 3 for each of the slow play minor warnings. Duelists are definitely going to have to pick up the pace here, but Rico winning there and doing Switzerland proud.
Yes, really good to see both these players sort of adapting to each other. Once Rico knew what was up and he had access to his Ryzeal cards, he's like, honestly, as long as I can prioritize my Ryzeal engine, it's going to be really cool. If you're Steven, I think the only thing you got to really think about is, okay, what am I most afraid of in Rico's deck? And I think the answer is the Ryzeal cards. As long as I save all my interaction for those, I can deal with the Mitsurugi and the Fiendsmith stuff. I did that in game 1. I can do it in game 3.
Well, we also got a little bit of a peek at the types of interaction that Rico was using, and so Steven has to be mindful of things like, of course, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. That's kind of a given these days, but Droll and Lockbird, not necessarily as scary against Kashtira Regenesis, but it does mean that you're going to get one search or the other, right? If you use Kashtira Unicorn, you're probably not going to get access to Regenesis Archfiend and vice versa.
100%. And I'm actually interested to see what the kind of the turn 1 combos are for Regenesis, because it's honestly a very low-to-the-ground archetype. You don't really summon from the extra deck. In fact, some of your cards actually lock you out of the extra deck. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Something like Archfiend plus Warrior and Sage is really all Steven needs, you know, in terms to have his, like, maximum amount of interactions. Topping it off with Lord, I think, would just be a bonus because that can guarantee your other spell and trap cards like Birth or Code.
Well, Rico already at the ready, and Steven getting his last pile shuffle on. I like that he's kind of a fashion-forward duelist, right? Orange sleeves, orange deck box.
Oh, yeah. He's like, if we match, it's better. It's called synergy.
Hey, there's a lot of synergy in the deck. Why not put it outside the deck, too?
Yeah, I think besides like some normal turn 1 Kashtira combos that we can definitely expect out of Steven's heavy Kashtira package, playing the Kashtira Theosis is really cool, by the way.
Yeah, not everybody who uses Kashtira goes that hard in, but you're right, since he's using Regenesis Code, he's kind of used to getting locked out of his extra deck anyway, so being locked into Xyz monster is pretty much the same thing.
Yep, both players just making sure everything is copacetic. They have their opening hands. It sounds like they're deciding who's going first and maybe getting a clarification of truly how much time is left for them as we go into Game 3. Let's see who can come out on top in the first round of Day 2 at YCS Providence. Is it Steven or is it Rico? Okay, just getting clarification as well about how they can start.
Good luck.
The hands have been shaken. It's the final game. Let's see what happens.
Both duelists definitely respect each other. And speaking about respect, did I see a Solemn Judgment in that opening hand?
I also see the Kashtira Unicorn as well.
Oh, wow.
Special.
Yeah.
Attempt to activate Regenesis.
Ooh, not using the effect of Unicorn yet, but we're going to chain Ash Blossom, but we do have Unicorn.
Attempt to activate Unicorn.
Resolve.
Ooh, wow.
Now this is actually a really interesting question. Do you get rid of the Detonator or do you get rid of the Requiem?
That's difficult because one gives an exceptional amount of grind game while the other just sort of shuts things off. However, the Meteorologic Aggregator has been doing the most work here, so maybe you just get rid of it so that you really can lock in on that Typhon. Maybe a third appearance?
Whoa!
Yeah, wow.
Turning off the breaking power of X Ryzeal is a super heads-up play from Steven because he can just go, trust me when I say, with the way I'm about to play this board, you're never going to get to XZ summon once, so I don't care about Detonator.
Well, let's see if he keeps that promise. It's a big check to write, but he's going to go ahead and use the Pressure Planet Race Off to grab the Kashtira Fenrir, and I think you're right. I think that, like, just building the best field possible to lock the opponent out seems to be the strat here.
So we have Birth, Normal Summon, Unicorn, thanks to the Birth allowing you to do so, and now we're going to be able to use the Fenrir to search for another Kashtira card. We're going to get another Unicorn into our hand. Do we have any Regenesis, though? If we can top all this off with Regenesis, ending with Unicorn, Fenrir, and full Regenesis combo, feels like more than enough disruptions. And low to the ground ones.
I'm going to set one.
No, I don't see any Regenesis here, but I did see a Droll and Lockbird.
Okay, so we have some of the side deck options coming in. That might be more than enough to stymie Rico's turn.
It's pretty good against Mitsurugi.
That might be what you're thinking if you're Steven.
I'll attempt to pass.
Okay, end phase it is.
So I know this board doesn't look like a lot, but if that face-down card's what I think it is, we have access to a Fenrir face-down banish. We have another Unicorn, potentially to rip another card out of the extra deck. And we have a potential set Solemn Judgment and the Troll and Lockbird.
That's incredible.
That's fine.
We are going to activate a monster effect here, though. That does mean that Kashtira Unicorn gets another bite at the extra deck.
Unfortunately, though, if Rico summons the monster and then immediately tributes it, it will not be able to be targeted by Fenrir.
Chaining one Sachi.
I'll go Chain Link to Unicorn.
There's the Unicorn, but you're right. Fenrir doesn't have anything to chop up with that axe.
So because we've led Mitsurugi here, Steven doesn't really have any tells as to what Rico's going to go for here, so he could still branch into Fiendsmith or branch into Ryzeal, but he's going to choose, okay, Fiendsmith is most likely, so let's just turn that off immediately and see if you have any Ryzeal cards.
I think Steven's bet the farm on Solemn Judgment against a powerful Ryzeal Xyz monster. Oh, and there's the Droll and Lockbird.
This will do a couple of things, guys. This will stop the Habakiri tribute effect from being summoned back, and of course, no more searching for cards from the deck. We did get the Mitsurugi Ritual, though, as Rico, which could be more than enough to get the rest of his plays going. Let's find out.
Mitsurugi Ritual to summon from hand.
Do you Judgment this?
I mean, oh, we do!
And we do! We're going to pay half of our life points to negate Mitsurugi Ritual. We know the Habakiri's in hand, and it's pretty much useless at this moment in time. What else does Rico have?
That is a big gambit there. We're low on time, but half your life points may be worth it to stop things. Looks like we are going to go ahead and drop one last card onto the field spell zone.
Good Ryzeal Cross.
We have Ryzeal Cross coming down. Okay. Again, drawing it.
I will special summon next Ryzeal.
We will special, but no aggregator this time.
Yeah.
Do it right.
And I believe X is mandatory on summon effect, which will take two level 4s off the a level 4 off the board with Fenrir.
Go battle phase.
Did you say go battle phase?
I will attack Fenrir.
He is attacking Fenrir.
So
Interesting. So he's taking.
Boosted by 300.
How strong
Oh,
is
to get the two Ryzeal names to the graveyard for Ryzeal Cross to draw one card and believe in the heart of the cards. Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, because he knows if he
Fenrir
activates.
because of the
So yeah, X is not mandatory, which is great. He didn't activate the effect on summon.
This 2 effect Ryzeal Cross.
He took
You couldn't have
20.
anyway with the Troll Lockbird, but he's really doing this with the Ryzeal Cross. Oh, but he can't draw with the Ryzeal Cross.
Yeah, I'm confused as to what he... Can he even activate
Yeah,
it?
that is then.
Oh, and it was just 3 Ritual Monsters! Rico's hand wasn't so unfortunate,
wow.
but the Kashtira board of Fenrir and Unicorn was more than enough. That Solemn Judgment on the Mitsurugi Ritual, I don't know if I could have made that call if I was Steven.
Yeah, Rico had me in the first half. I thought it was still going. Steven breathing a sigh of relief as the match winner Regenesis goes on, and maybe one win away from hitting top 32.
Man, what a grindy match between these two players. It took Steven making, I think, a pretty gutsy call and getting rid of that Mitsurugi Ritual, and then Rico going, yeah, the Kashtira cards are pretty good, getting rid of all of my extra deck.
Yeah, that's incredible, man.
And the banishing of the aggregator. In a million years, I never would have made that play, but really heads up from Steven.
I saw the line. He was so dependent on Typhon. It's not really a line. It's just like, hey, I'm going to select this card to go ahead and banish it. But just really good heads-up play, because imagine if he did have access to the Mirror Logic Aggregator. He would have been able to negate that Kashtira Fenrir, and then it wouldn't have been such a threat. And Rico just playing it very calm and close to the chest.
Yeah.
Summon my low-level monster. I attack your monster. Like Jade and Yuki at the end of the series, right? Just crashing in. That's incredible stuff.
Wow, really awesome to see both players, I think, showing off the really fun power of grinding in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. Things like Mitsurugi being able to kind of have these really fun board interactions of Raigeki and negations by discarding cards. And the Regenesis cards being able just to summon themselves, get constant grind game alongside the Kashtira cards. There we see our champion again, sorry, a winner, Steven Wind.
Probably
Good to
feels
see.
like a champion at this point, but wow, just some incredible stuff. The players obviously exchanging a little information amongst themselves. That's my favorite part of the duels, when they start talking to each other. It's like, okay, so what did you side in? This is what I sided. You don't have to give up that information, of course, but it just reminds you that you're just two people that love this game. And wow, what a performance. Sorry if we're breathless. That's some good Yu-Gi-Oh!
Like, the second I saw the Solemn Judgment on the Mitsurugi Ritual, I knew, oh my gosh, I think that was it. I think he just locked us up. And he did.
Just close it up. Just showing the 3 rituals. I didn't catch to see if it was each of the names.
No, it was 2 Habakiri
Oh,
and
it
then
was
1
2
Murakumo.
Habakiri. Okay,
Yeah.
so it'd be wild to reveal basically almost an Exodia level collection of your Mitsurugi ritual monsters, but just good stuff. And you remember we were talking about this before everything sort of kicked off, how fast this format might be with all these different combo decks. Where was the control? I think we found out where the control is. Like, Regenesis has this it just has answers. It's almost like a Swiss Army knife being able to sort of pick at all these different options.
Oh yeah, and the Kashtira cards are famous for breaking boards. That helps a little bit too.
Yeah, Kashtira Unicorn duelists are terrified of it because it really does warp your sense of extra deck building, right? Do I include 2 copies of Fiendsmith's Requiem? Because if they take away 1, well, I need that extra one. But no, I think he really got it done very well there.
Yep, super excited to see what more Steven can do. I believe he still needs 1 more win if he wants to lock up a spot in Top Cut, so his tournament is nowhere near over. He definitely still has to keep competing at the best possible. And of course, congrats to Rico as well for his amazing performance this weekend.
Hey, I mean, he still has a chance too, but we talked about how there's still some wild stuff out there in the field. There's still Kashtira Regenesis. There's still Fire King. We may have a really stacked and wild top 32.
Oh, I've seen some fun stuff out there. I believe we have things like Heraldic Beast Ryzeal and even Horus Crystron on top of all the Malice and Mitsurugi shenanigans.
Well, speaking of shenanigans, why don't we talk a little bit about the shenanigans that happened on stage. We're going to send it to the stage for a Steven to talk to a Steven. So 2 Stevens over to 2 Stevens.
Thank you very much, Steven and Steven. I have Steven on stage. Congratulations on your feature match victory, playing Regenesis Kashtira. Let's start off with the deck choice because that's one that we have seen on feature match, but you have a chance of topping with this deck. Was that your expectation coming in, and why'd you pick the deck?
I picked the deck, honestly, because no one knew what the cards did. I played 10 rounds. Every single person had to read my cards like 10 times over. But the cards are very simple, and they're really broken. Just big bodies. It almost felt like a better version of Blue Eyes, essentially. And Unicorn versus Malice is just like an FTK. So that was a big reason why I decided to play it. And it feels really good. It's been testing really well. I was honestly expecting to go X3 like round 4, to be honest with you. I guess I'm technically still undefeated, so that's really cool. I just want to shout out my boys at 83 4th. Shout out Mihawk. I would shout out my boy Royster. And all my friends supporting me. It's crazy. I really didn't expect to get this far, so I'm hoping to top. That'd be my very first Premier top, so that'd be awesome.
Well, I'm sure everybody's cheering for you that you just shouted out right there, but you had mentioned a card that I wanted to highlight a little bit, Kashtira Unicorn. It put in work in this feature match, and that seems to be the boogeyman of the format right now. A lot of people looking at that being like, You only have one detonator. Malice sometimes is susceptible to that. How much work has that card put in so far?
I played against multiple Malice players, and they literally just have Ash in their hand. My first interaction, Special Unicorn, and they get too scared because I feel like all the Malice players, no offense, they're pretty bad. So like they don't know how to play. If I banish their Red Ransom and White Binder, they're just playing like a bad Cyber stack. You play against Ryzeo, I don't even care about banishing Detonator. I usually just banish like Aggregator or Exits on Night because I want my board to be cleared. They should, in theory, they should never make Detonator anyway. So that. But yes, it's such a crazy card. If I could Unicorn twice, it's broken. So it's really good. Really.
All right, so some heat for the other Malice players out there. Do you realize that the reigning TCG world champion Ruben is on Malice? Did you get to see his feature match, and is he included in that pool?
No. I think if you're good at the game, that you're just good. Like that's it. That's all I have to say about that. I feel like a lot of Malice players, like, it's a hard deck to play, so I feel like I'm being a bit mean, but, like, I literally played against 5 of them yesterday, and I beat every single one, and I feel like I should never be the case kind of thing, but Unicorn's broken, so I think that was a big reason why, so.
Fair enough. So not all Malice players, but it is a tough deck to pilot, but thank you so much, Steven, for the interview. Congratulations on the feature match win. One more to go. Let's throw it back to the casters.